Since I'm doing essentially the same concept as 5 years ago, I will attempt not to repeat myself. And therefore, in the logic of Mark Twain's biography, I have decided that chronology and alphabetization is a worthless form of orientation for the purposes of this. So what I will be doing will be random and jumping from period to period, and you can assemble it in your own mind later. Reverend Bobby has been kind enough to loan me one of his instruments so that I can demonstrate the first concept. And that is, when the guitar first came into North America, most people had no concept of what to do with it, other than the Germans in the northern part of the Mississippi Valley. Almost all of the players would immediately put it into some sort of banjo tuning to play it, rather than what's considered straight six-string guitar tuning. And they used open chords a lot of the time to accomplish the themes that they wanted to. This is open G right now, which is like the top four strings are like a bluegrass banjo. And I will start with one of the 12 basic blues formats. The blues as a phenomenon strictly breaks down into 3 or 4 cadences: the 8-bar, the 12-bar, the 16-bar, and the irregular. And there are 12 patterns, which are most commonly used. Now, my imagination has it that Cleopatra floated down the Nile in a barge with 24 banjo players playing this tune. Robert Johnson played it as, "If I had possession over my judgment day." Others played "Rolling and a Tumbling" and other lyrics to it. My teacher, Skip James, "You know I ain't got no special rider here. No, I ain't got no special rider here. Ain't got nobody to love or feel my care." Woke up this morning, see a special rising sun. I woke up this morning, see that special rising sun. Prayed to the good Lord my special rider would come. reckon it read? I got a letter this morning, what do you reckon it said? You better come home quick, 'cause your special rider is dead. Now, I'll truncate these as much as possible to try and get through a lot of the material. So the top and bottom strings in this tuning are in a D note, and so is the fourth string. So I've taken the second string, brought it down to an A, took the fifth string, brought it up to an A. I have a sawtooth tuning now. So I'll sweeten the third. The fellow out of North Florida, Jacksonville probably, they don't really know, whose professional name became Blind Blake. And he recorded in Chicago. He was a very versatile guitarist, made up a lot of different tunes, but he's kind of most famous for this. Play it a little slower. It's funny how the instrument is essentially the same, but it's not mine. And I know how to find stuff on mine, but I have to research it on this instrument because all my life I've been a rambling man. All my life I've been a rambling man, making my way, doing the best I can. My trunk down to Tennessee. Ship my trunk down to Tennessee. Never can tell about a man like me. Met a little gal and I couldn't get her off my mind. Met a little gal and I couldn't get her off my mind. Turned me down, said she didn't like my kind. goes on about the police dog, but so I've just taken the third of the chord down another half step. The open chord is a minor chord. If I press on the first fret of the third string, I now have a major chord. One of my teachers, Skip James, commonly used this tuning, and another of my teachers, Booker T. Washington White, was known to use it. Just give me life this morning down on Parchment Farm. Just give me life this morning down on Parchment Farm. I wouldn't feel so bad, lose my wife, my home. Go to work in the morning just for day is dawn. Go to work in the morning just for day is dawn. And when the work is done, then we go home. Oh, goodbye, wife, you know all you got's done gone. Wife, now all you got's done gone. I know someday that I will overcome. That's the way Booker played. Skip used it a different way. I'd rather be the devil said I'd rather to be the devil than to be that woman's man. Yes, I'd rather to be the devil than to be that woman's man, than to be that woman's man. I built, cut up a kindling. I cut up a kindling and I built up a fire. I towed up a water from the Boggy Bull River, from the Boggy Bar. woman don't drink whiskey. My woman don't drink whiskey. My woman don't drink whiskey. She don't never drink no wine. There ain't nothing but the devil changing my poor baby's mind. Changing my poor baby's mind. I promise I'll put this back in the original tuning. So, blues is to American poetry what the haiku is to Japanese poetry. Very précis, intense images in a couple of lines. Probably the most famous one is, I'm sitting here wondering if a matchbox will hold my clothes. I ain't got so many matches, but I sure got a long way to go. The two commonest themes that I've found in blues music, one is disgruntled interpersonal relationships, and the other is impending mortality. This is a Charlie Patton song. I'm going away to a world unknown. I'm going away to a world unknown. I may be worried now, but I won't be worried long. I feel like chopping, chips flying everywhere. I feel like chopping with the chips flying everywhere. If I was to leave here tomorrow, I know you don't need more care. Now every day feels like murder. Now, one of the things I want to say here is that the people who were sought out to record, which was how we happen to know about the blues to this day, came from this region of the nation. And at that time, especially, they had a very regional style of speech. They conventionally went to New York or to Racine, Wisconsin, or to Chicago, where they had a different regional pattern of speech. And the people in those northern cities could not understand the people who came from Mississippi. And so they would listen to it and they would say, well, I have no idea what he said, but it sort of sounded like he said this. So we'll write that down. So that last song, for instance, on the label, it's called the Dirt Road Blues. Well, he didn't say dirt road, he said dark road. And besides, the name of the song is the Overseas Blues. Also, the people in the North who were marketing these things refused to actually become acquainted with the artists other than to record them and pay them. And so they would apply monikers to them that they thought were marketable. A good friend of mine who came from a small hamlet down near Greenwood, John Smith Hurt, on the label became Mississippi John Hurt. Well, nobody in Mississippi called him that. And it was only on the label that he was known as that. But when he was rediscovered in 1963, he was again billed as Mississippi John Hurt. A quick story on sidelight on that. He was taken to the Chicago Folk Festival, and they handed him a check for $5,000, which was more in money than he'd seen at one time. And he took it to his then manager, Dick Waterman, and said, Mr. Waterman, if I sign this check over to you, will you write me a check for the same amount on your account? And Dick started laughing and said, John, this is the University of Chicago. They got the money. He says, yes, but I have your phone number. So here's another misnomer. This man was known to the recording industry as Rabbit Brown. I don't think that was his nickname in the South. He didn't record many blues. He mostly was a songster, and he recorded narrative histories and other things. But this song had some currency, has had some resurgent currency, although almost nobody plays it like he did. Times ain't now nothing like they used to be. Good Lord, I'm telling you all the truth. You can take it from me. I've seen better days, but I'm putting up with these. I said I've seen better days, but give you sugar for sugar, let you give salt for salt. Can't get along with me, Lord, it's your own fault. Sometimes I think that you're too sweet to die. I said sometimes I think that you're too sweet to die. And other times I think you ought to be buried alive. Because they couldn't understand the people's patois when they were recording them, they wound up recording a lot of things that would not have fit in polite society. But this was covered by the fact that they set up alternate corporate structures to issue these recordings, which were called mechanicals. And so Victor had Bluebird, I think it was, and there was these sub-labels which preponderantly were for the purpose of issuing what were then called race records. That were recorded by and marketed to predominantly people of color who could A, afford to buy a Victrola, and B, spend 35 to 75 cents per platter. But these were very ephemeral. When people went a couple decades later to try and find these 78 records, they would go to a neighborhood and they'd knock from door to door and they say, do you have any of those old 78 records? And the lady would say, well, I think we did recently, but the last one I used for a pie plate, or for a cake plate for the church social. So mostly they were not valued, and if you could find one, in the 1950s and 1960s, you were the equivalent of an archaeologist finding an Egyptian tomb. Some of the blues were simply recast older songs. My good girl, catch you here. Said, don't you let my good girl catch you here. Oh, she might touch you, but stab you too. Ain't no telling what she might do. Eat my breakfast here, dinner in Tennessee. Eat my breakfast here, dinner in Tennessee. Eat my breakfast here, my dinner in Tennessee. No me down, pat it on your floor. Won't you make me down, pat it on your floor. Making me down, pat it on your floor. Make it neat, make it small, make it just as long as I am tall. Won't you make me down, pat it on your floor. Make me down, pat it on your floor. Make me down and pat it on your floor. Make it neat, make it close behind the door. Won't you? So my good gal never know. At the end of the Civil War, men who had been trained in the military bands brought their instruments back, and they wanted to continue the behavior of playing music together. So they had a gazebo built in the middle of town, and they would meet there on Sundays and play music together. Those who played woodbox instruments, like the guitar or the mandolin at the time, could not be heard against the brass instruments, and so the banjo mandolin and the banjo guitar were first patented in 1865 and became a popular phenomenon. The banjo, of course, had existed since before the American Revolution in a slightly separate form. It only had 3 long strings, and it had the short chanterelle on the side, an example of which you can see in the kitchen of the Hermitage outside Nashville, in the room behind the kitchen where the children were kept during the day. In 1832, somewhere around there, Joel Sweeney, a white man, decided to add the 4th longest string, and thus changing it from a diatonic, meaning to play in 1 or 2 keys like a harmonica, to a chromatic instrument that could play in every key. Since that time, white people have not been able to leave the damn thing alone. And they keep making adjustments and refinements and adding more and more things to it, till to this day, if you pick up a Gibson Mastertone, be prepared to haul around a 40-pound bag of rocks. And but back in the day, it had gut strings actually, and it was plenty loud. One of the early recorded banjoists in the South was a man by the name of Gus Cannon. He wrote, "Walk right in, sit right down, Daddy, let your mind roll on." But he also played a common theme used in a number of different iterations. Some had lyrics, his didn't. When Charlie Patton recorded it, it was called Shake It and Break It. That's one example of how the banjo would have been used. So that was the 19th century banjo. In 1863, the Bohe brothers had a shop on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. They were the premier five-string banjo makers in the country at the time. They were also gentlemen of color. They had witnessed the draft riots in the summer of '63, in which a number of their brethren were strung up from the light poles and decided that Manhattan was not the most salubrious place for them to remain. They removed themselves to London, England, where the younger brother proceeded to teach the Prince of Wales how to play the five-string banjo. Ergo, in England, the five-string banjo became de rigueur in fashionable society. Many factories were set up. They found that the gut strings that the Americans used would not last in their climate, and so they put wire strings onto the instrument. These were then brought back into the United States, and the Americans, suffering an inordinate inferiority complex, signified by the word important. Americans are always using the word important. And if you think about it, it means coming in from somewhere else, to import, not integral. So they would see these instruments from England and they'd say, look what they have, look what they have, we have to have that. So in the 1890s, early 1900s, they started using wire strings and destroying the instruments that had been built up to that point. But the people in Appalachia having no particular preference as to where they got their music, took this instrument and again adapted it to their purposes by using whatever tuning they found convenient. This is a song by a coal miner in extreme western Virginia or extreme eastern Kentucky. Come all you good time people, while I have money for to spend. Tomorrow may be another day, and I haven't got no money or no friend. When I have plenty of money, good people, I have friends come from all around. But now that my pocketbook is empty, not a friend on earth can be found. Dig a hole in the middle, good people. Dig a hole in the cocoa ground. Come gather all around me and watch this poor rounder go down. In the extreme western part of North Carolina lived a man whose name was Clarence Ashley, but he was part of a trio with Clarence Green, and you can't have too many Clarences in one place at a time. So they called Clarence Ashley Tom. And old cuckoo, these pretty birds, she wobbles as she flies. She don't ever file a cuckoo till the 4th day of July. I play cards in England, I play cards in Spain. I bet you $5 I'll beat you next game. So you get the form adapted by a local region, which is why Cecil Sharp wandered all around North Carolina, Virginia, and Kentucky trying to retrace retentions from the British Isles, but he found from one pocket valley to the next pocket valley, they would have completely different iterations of somewhat the same song. They'd have different tunings, they'd have different sets of lyrics that the multiplicity in the early United States was unrecorded, except for a few random researchers such as Cecil Sharp. And the same with the blues. The blues was documented in a very small way by people who wanted to market their records. And they didn't really want to know about the music. They just thought, here's something I can sell. So for every person that was recorded, there were easily thousands of people who played and sang on the streets in different towns, in different communities, all over the nation. And all of that is lost to us now. An expression of which, I had a partner at one time who was born possibly in the 1880s or the 1890s. She would never confess as to when her birth date was. I would say, well, where'd you learn that song? Who'd you learn that? She'd run off a list of names that, you know, I'd never heard of. I'd never heard of any place to find out where Kaiser Souter or some of these other people had lived or died, or if they were known beyond their community. So one day she picked up my mandolin and said, don't marry a farmer, I'll tell you the reason why. Don't marry a farmer, I'll tell you the reason why. His mouth's all full of tobacco, and his chin ain't never dry. Whenever you marry, don't marry a railroad man. Whenever you marry, don't marry a railroad man. And he'll kill you when he can. Now, I want to give you a few citations where you can get real information about the history of the blues. Bill Wyman was one of the first bass players for the Rolling Stones. This is a very informative picture book, approximately 60% true. And it talks about Clarksdale, it talks about...
I think it's out of print, though.
yeah, well, everything can be found one way or another. And an English architect by the name of Paul Oliver made a recording back in the 60s called The African Retentions in the Blues, in which he makes field recordings of different African songsters in Africa and juxtaposes them with American blues recordings, showing how melodically and in cadence and in a certain way in the content of the song, the attempt was made to hearken back to their own traditions and enshrine them in their own creations. Here we go again. This is a song I've heard a number of different versions of. Vera Hall did one. Bessie Jones of the Georgia Sea Island Singers did one. Death is awful. Death is awful. Death, please spare me over to another year. What is this that I can see? Cold as a hand coming over me. Death is awful. Death is awful. Death, please spare me over to another year. He'll slow your legs till you can't walk. He'll still your tongue till you can't talk. Death is awful. Death is awful. Death, please spare me over to another year. Death, oh death, please consider my age. Please don't take me at this stage. Death is awful. Oh, death is awful. Death, please spare me over to another year. That's a short survey of examples. I have about 7 minutes to answer any questions that you may have pertaining to the present topic.
What's the general nature, let's see, of percussion associated with the blues?
Well, early on, because of the limitations of the recording industry, percussion was eschewed because it tended to spoil the groove that the cutter was making in the disc. And so was the string bass, for instance, because the nature of the sound wave created too big a swing of the arm, and it would cause the cutter to move into the adjoining groove. As the music moved north, especially into Chicago and Kansas City, and electricity became a part of it, then the drums became a very essential element of the what in the old days was called the continuo, the underpinnings of the music that tied it all together. So what we don't know is what was happening in this hamlet or that hamlet or this valley or that valley. People quite possibly could have been playing some sort of rhythm, and Bones was the most ubiquitous of the old-time instruments. drums having been outlawed in the colonial New World because it was known that they were used as a form of communication. The other thing that I could demonstrate quickly, if you can find your knees and your hands and uncross your legs, you put your right hand on your right knee and your left hand on your left knee, and you could go like this. But in the Georgia Seattle's, if you put your right hand down, put your left hand about 8-10 inches over top of it, lift up your right hand till it bumps into the other hand, and then put it down again. On the other side, left hand on left knee, put right hand over top, lift up your right hand, put it down again. So the pattern would be right, up, down, left, up, down. Right, up, down, left, up, down. Now you might think that this indicated a tripartite rhythm. Casey would waltz with the strawberries, but it's not what it was invented for. This is what is called in music a hemiola. Can you say hemiola? I knew you could. Okay.
Remember when you talk dirty?
So, they had a rhyme that went along with this. This was a banjo tune, it was a rhyme, it was a hand game, and it was a dance. As a matter of fact, the dance, which was called jump juba, required one, nearly 77 years old, I should stop doing this, to jump up and land with one foot in front of the other, and then jump up from side to side, and then the opposite. Called jump juba. Now, this was south of Charleston, and as this phenomenon was traveled up to the nearest big town there, it was discovered that white people could not take both feet off the ground at the same time safely. So they taught them to step forward and kick, and step back and kick, and they called the dance the Charleston. But the rhyme goes like this. Juba this and Juba that, and Juba killed the yellow cat. You grind the meal, you give me the puff. Bake the bread, give me the crust. Cook the meat, give me the skin. And that's the way my mama trouble begins. Juba, Juba. Juba this and Juba that, and Juba killed the yellow cat. You grind the meal, give me the husk. Bake the bread, give me the crust. Cook the meat, give me the skin. And that's the way my mama trouble begins. Juba, Juba. One last thing, I'll run over my time, but everybody knows the basic beat. Now, if we can get a few people to hold on to that, thank you very much for your kind attention.